Here's a breakdown of recent right-wing or far-right violent extremism in the United States, with clear buckets, concrete cases, and data links you can check. What counts as right-wing violent extremism, or RWVE? United States government and research organizations usually slice it like this. RWVE stands for racially or ethnically motivated violent extremists, for example, white supremacists, or those who believe in the so-called Great Replacement. MVE stands for militia or anti-government violent extremists, such as, groups like the Oath Keepers, the Three Percenters, and the Boogaloo movement. Abortion-related violent extremists, specifically those aligned with pro-life views, have historically been responsible for things like clinic shootings and arsons. The big picture trend here is that, according to multiple datasets from sources like GAO, CSIS, and the ADL, far-right actors have actually been the most lethal category in recent years. So, notable RWVE incident clusters between 2015 and 2025 include, mass shootings that were driven by white supremacist or RWVE ideology. In Buffalo, New York, on May 14, 2022, at a Tops supermarket, 10 black victims were killed. The ideology cited was the so-called Great Replacement. The perpetrator received 11 life terms plus 90 years from the state, and there's also a federal hate crime case that was filed. In El Paso, Texas, on August 3, 2019, at a Walmart, 23 people were killed targeting Latinos. The manifesto cited anti-immigrant views. Federally, the sentence was 90 consecutive life sentences in 2023. At the state level, things are moving toward life without parole under a plea, with developments expected in 2025. Charleston, South Carolina, on June 17, 2015, was marked by a tragic event at the Emmanuel AME Church. 9 black parishioners lost their lives at the hands of Dylan Roof. For this heinous act, Roof received a federal death sentence along with life terms. This incident, widely reported, remains a significant moment in our recent history. On October 27, 2018, in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the Tree of Life Synagogue became the site of a devastating attack. 11 worshipers were killed, and in 2023, a federal jury recommended the death penalty, which was later imposed. January 6, 2021, saw the U.S. Capitol under siege in an attack orchestrated by a mix of militia groups, QAnon followers, and anti-government extremists. Key actors included the Proud Boys, Oath Keepers, Three Percenters, and QAnon adherents, all aiming to halt the certification of the 2020 election results. The aftermath saw Oath Keepers leaders convicted of seditious conspiracy, resulting in multiple multi-year sentences. Similarly, Proud Boys leaders were convicted of the same charge, with Enrique Tarrio receiving a sentence of 22 years. Anti-government and militia plots and attacks have, continued to pose serious threats. In 2020, there was the Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer kidnap plot. 2 ringleaders were convicted of both kidnap conspiracy and conspiracy to use weapons of mass destruction, and they were sentenced to 16 and about 20 years in prison. Several others were also convicted, while some were acquitted in later state trials. Boogaloo-linked attacks in California, also in 2020, included the Oakland Federal Building drive-by killing of Protective Security Officer Dave Underwood. Stephen Carrillo pled guilty and was sentenced to 41 years, while his accomplice, Robert Justice, was later sentenced to life in prison. There was an infrastructure plot in Tennessee in 2024. A guilty plea was entered for a planned substation bombing using a drone, and a white nationalist motive was noted in the case. Abortion-related pro-life violent extremism has unfortunately resulted in deadly attacks. On November 27, 2015, at a Planned Parenthood clinic in Colorado Springs, 3 people were killed and 8 others wounded. In 2019, a federal indictment was issued and, ongoing competency litigation has continued. Courts have even allowed forced medication in an effort to restore competency, and the Supreme Court declined to review the case in 2025. There have also been other high-profile incidents of hate-motivated violence. For example, during the Charlottesville Unite the Right rally on August 12, 2017, a car attack killed Heather Heyer and injured 35 people. James Alex Fields Jr. pleaded guilty to 29 federal hate crime counts and received a life sentence, in addition to a separate state life term. CSIS domestic terror datasets, consistently show that far-right incidents have dominated United States terrorism counts in recent years, and the updated briefs also highlight a noticeable rise in attacks targeting government entities. Here's a quick list of some representative right-wing cases, along with their outcomes. In Buffalo back in 2022, the perpetrator received a state life sentence without parole, 11 life terms plus 90 years, and the federal hate crime case is still ongoing. The El Paso case from 2019 resulted in 90 federal life sentences, with a state plea path to life without parole expected in 2025. The Pittsburgh synagogue attack in 2018 led to a federal death sentence as recommended and imposed by the jury. In Charlottesville, the car attack from 2017 resulted in both a federal life sentence and a separate state life sentence. For the January 6th Oath Keepers, there were seditious conspiracy convictions and multi-year sentences. The January 6th Proud Boys, including Enrique Tarrio, saw seditious conspiracy convictions as well, with Tarrio receiving 22 years. In the Whitmer kidnap plot from 2020, ringleaders got sentences of 16 and about 20 years, while outcomes for others were mixed. The Boogaloo attacks in California, also in 2020, resulted in 41 years for Carrillo and life for Justice in connection with the Oakland Federal Building ambush. And finally, the Planned Parenthood case in Colorado from 2015 remains an active federal case, with forced medication orders upheld and the defendant's competency still at issue. Just a few notes on reading the data to keep things honest. When it comes to frequency versus lethality, far-right incidents make up the bulk of deadly extremist violence in recent years, according to sources like CSIS, ADL, and the GAO. Left-wing violence does exist, but it's far less lethal overall during the same time period. And court outcomes do evolve. Some cases can span years with appeals, competency hearings, and differences between state and federal proceedings. So it's always a good idea to check the latest docket or press releases for the most up-to-date status.